Day 9. Day 10. I don't know how long I was asleep for, or how quickly I fell asleep once I was conscious of it. Hello, so this is a dream. When I opened my eyes, I laid there for a few moments, my body feeling like it was underwater. Like most mornings, I was on autopilot, swinging my legs out to the side of the bed and stretching. Coffee. I liked my room. It was on the top floor of our house, like an attic of sorts, but it also had a bathroom and a small study nook. The whole floor was basically mine. Yeah, I like this bedroom. Give me this bedroom.
It's interesting that there's a stairwell in the back. Like,
is that the study
upwards.
nook?
Yeah,
I guess.
It must be like a loft up there. That's kind of cool.
The whole floor was basically mine, as small as it was. Mom and Dad had downstairs, but that's where the living room, kitchen, and other rooms were obviously. Oh my god, this is a nice house with a conspicuously open door.
Yeah.
Something's really unnerving about the door being open.
I wonder if they just took pictures from like a real estate listing. Just uncredited real estate listing.
Yeah, I always wonder what the rules are for this stuff. Like does Echo, like in Echo's case, were those photos like from some kind of public domain sources, or did they just nab whatever they felt like and were like, whatever, let's go? I'll put a color filter over it.
I think Mick Skinny said that they literally went there and took pictures. Which is, you know, there are
that photo of the door looks so weird.
Yeah, I think I think in some cases, this is probably boring for people listening, but in some cases, depending on where you are, depending on what state you're in, you're allowed to just take pictures of places and use them because you like own the picture. But in other places, if you take pictures of private property, you have to get permission from the owner of the private property to use them. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the legality is. You know, typically, I think it's bad form to use pictures of someone's actual house, but I don't know.
This is someone's actual house.
Imagine if you're reading this and you're like, why does this look familiar?
Oh my god. That's my decadent serving tray I have for some reason. I think what's unnerving about this house is how much it just doesn't even slightly look like anyone lives here. Like, it's just so pristine and perfect with weird little displays everywhere, and like that tray. There's a serving tray on the ottoman with an apple and a fully like fleshed out bouquet. And I'm like, why? Who's this for in the day-to-day? What is your life like if this is what you have? What are you up to? Also, there's a human painting in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Just add that to the unnerving elements of that.
At one point, sorry, this is just like the background info, but at one point in Cape Escape, Ka mentions that Melvin says that Miss Potatoes said the viewers would lead to a better future for humanity, and it took all of my restraint to not have Sandals say, "What the fuck is humanity?" immediately afterward. And I keep thinking about it while we're playing Password, because like I love the idea of like a furry universe where like humans are our Bigfoot. You know what I mean? It's just like kind of fun.
Yeah, to some extent I'm kind of over the idea of just like humanity just being inhumane and other similar words, just maintaining their meaning, even though it feels strange in the moment, because they're just very useful to use. It's too confusing and also really awkward to make up new terms. Like if you make up new terms, they get really janky, and they call it, in many cases, furry universes, if they try to make up new words, the word itself just calls a lot of attention to itself every time it's used.
Yeah, it reads improperly.
Yeah. I was halfway down the stairs before I could smell it, or at least I thought I could smell it. The smoky scent that came with freshly made bacon. That's a strange way to phrase that, but I guess it's a dream. It reminded me I was hungry, and as much as I felt a little guilty about eating bacon while also being friends with Roswell. It's one of those things where it's not weird until you acknowledge it. If you acknowledge it being weird in universe, now it's really weird, and I have to think about that now. If you just said bacon and didn't acknowledge it, then I'd be like, oh yeah, there just are pigs and pig people, and we don't draw a connection, just like how we don't feel like we are chimps.
Yeah.
I think about this whenever someone talks about like the Goofy paradox. I'm like, it's not a paradox. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Our evolutionary ancestors also still exist in real life. It's not weird that there's a Goofy and Pluto in the same universe. The Dogman and dog would probably, yes, exist in the same place. There probably would be dogs and wolves in the Echo universe that are quadrupeds and not sentient or not human intelligence or whatever. I knew there was only one other person in the house that'd be cooking at this time of morning. As I hit the bottom of the stairs, I became acutely aware of something wrong, though. Something very wrong. Looking towards the kitchen, I gulped, almost scared of who I'd find on the other side of the doorway. What is up with that plate? Stored at the back of the oven?
Oh, that's like a decorative plate. That's a thing. My parents have one too. They got one. They're typical, like plates that look like that are often like wedding gifts. My parents got one when they got married.
Yeah.
And it literally has just lived propped up on a counter like that. Granted, this.
Yeah, no, we had decorative plates at my house, and they'd be on the top of they'd be like on a little stand at like the very top of the cupboard, like out of reach.
Yeah.
The back of the oven of the stove is just a very. This feels. I've never seen something like this.
No, I think. Oh, so like I think that these pictures are all. Again, I genuinely do think it is a real estate. I think these were taken from a real estate listing, and so all of these are staged by like a company. So they just come in and they like clutter the house and put like nice looking furniture in so that it looks lived in, so that you can like take pictures of it basically.
But it's not environmental storytelling.
Yeah, no.
I wanted to closer.
No, we would need some more skeletons for that.
Yeah, we need plastic skeletons everywhere.
I need a human skeleton somewhere in here.
Yeah.
just one, please.
Just sticking out of the oven. I wandered closer, closing my eyes, bracing myself on the doorway. The closer I got, a chill ran down my spine, when I could recognize the familiar, cheery humming. The humming stopped, replaced instead with a low chuckle. It's Dave's dad.
He looks very weird.
It throws me that I think a lot of the hyenas, they just don't really have masks in this setting. Like the dark spots missing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, but we're seeing it's like
that.
Similar to Dave's appearance to some extent. So we get a glimpse of his like. These guys are drawn with having like 2 protruding fangs per side, but he's also dead on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Interesting. This one has more variations from the symmetry tool than usual. Almost every part of him is slightly changed from one side to the other. So he looks like he was drawn in the symmetry tool and then inked by hand, like without the symmetry tool, basically. It's interesting. Because he's perfectly symmetrical in his face, but almost every like hair tuft or even his arms and so on all don't quite match.
Mm-hmm.
As I opened my eyes, there he was, standing in front of the stove as if nothing was wrong.
What's wrong, sport? You look like you've seen a ghost.
A
yuck! A yuck!
It's a very goofy transition.
Yeah.
His mouth being open's calling attention to the anatomy of how their teeth work. I'm trying to figure out how hyena teeth work in this setting, because they've got a wild jaw shape. He laughed. He was laughing, and all I could do was stand there watching in shock. If my feet didn't suddenly feel weighed down with an anchor, I would have run.
Sleep all right? Breakfast is almost done. Take a seat, I'll serve you up.
Wait. No.
No? Well, that's a surprise. Oh, coffee. How could I forget? Like father, like son, right? Give me a second. I'll sort you out.
No, not that. Dad,
What? You have a bad dream?
I found myself drawn to the table, and next thing I knew I was sitting down, looking at my dad as he continued to work in the kitchen. No, not a bad dream, I think.
Then what's got you down, little bean? Sore feet? Toothache? Have a fight with your boyfriend?
Wait, I don't have a boyfriend.
No? Huh. Could have fooled me.
He wandered over, setting down a mug in front of me, the darkest roast of coffee you could imagine.
You still look half asleep. Drink up.
I reached out for the mug and found it warm, but I frowned all the same. I needed answers. This was so confusing. Dad?
Yeah, son?
What day is it today?
Don't really know. Why?
I shook my head, opting instead for another approach. What about the date?
Don't know that either. Would you believe that I forgot to charge my phone? Mom's already left for work though, so it's just us today.
No, that's not... He doubled back to the other side of the kitchen, bringing over a plate of scrambled eggs and bacon, sitting next to me. He handed me the plate, and I watched him take the first mouthful. It was less a plate and more a shared platter of food with how much was made. But Dad always was a big fan of big breakfasts. Dad?
Yeah?
What's your name?
My name? You know my name, sport.
He wiped his mouth with his arm, gesturing at me with a fork.
What's your name then? You should know mine already, given it's the same, bud.
He's Dave Jr.? I grumbled, folding my arms. That's not what I meant.
What's the matter, Dave? Normally we're fighting over the bacon by now. You haven't even had a banana or touched your coffee, so something's up.
I whined, not wanting to bring it up. You're real, right? Like, you're actually here, right?
Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? Someone looks like he's in need of some fatherly advice, though. And some breakfast, so eat up while I impart upon you some wisdom.
I kept my eyes on him as I reached for the banana. I didn't make a move beyond that, still feeling the whole ordeal surreal, given how real this all felt.
What do you do when life gives you lemons, Dave? Well, you could make lemonade if they're too sour, but I know a few guys who just eat them as is. Embrace what makes them different is all.
I don't...
No? Not relevant here? What about the one about the birds and the bees? Well, of all things considered, I don't think I need to worry about you fretting over where babies come from, do I?
I chuckled, as he did, as a flinch reaction, fighting it off and trying to remain composed. No, Dad, I want to know one thing, and you have to be honest, okay? Please?
Of course, son. Anything for you. What's up?
I think I'm in trouble.
That's not good. What can I do to help?
I don't think you can anymore. Because you're dead, right? He just looked at me, unflinching as I asked. He just grabbed a strip of bacon and flicked me on the nose with it before speaking.
No, that's not very nice. Besides, I'm plenty helpful. Reckon I could help regardless of where I am. So what's got you down? Why are you in trouble?
I gulped, whining. Dad, I just have this feeling that I'm going to let someone down, and that they're going to die because of me.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
What should I do?
That's quite the pickle. But if it's that serious, I don't think there's really anything you can do.
But what if they die?
Everyone dies, son. But if you do your best, I don't think anyone can be mad. I know I wouldn't be.
This is an awfully intense worldview to have as a cop. I don't know if I want my a cop in a good who's trying to give me advice say, well, everyone dies, just gotta do your best. It's a little bit fucked up. It's just a little bit fucked up.
I also don't like the characterization of, well, no one's gonna be mad at you if you did your best. And I'm like, the stakes aren't.
You.
One, people can be mad at you for anything ever because of the intensity of the situation we're talking about. But also, like, I don't want the standard by which I'm judging the outcome isn't whether or not people are mad at me. Like,
yeah,
that's not the way that that's prioritized. It's like plausible deniability, son.
Exactly.
You know, blue backs blue.
I mean, yeah, no. I mean, I know that I understand the point he's making, right? Which is, if we're giving it a good faith read, it's don't get in your head about always succeeding, because being worried about succeeding makes you fail, and failure is part of success anyway. So just keep trying and do your best, and you'll everything will work out. Like that is generally advice when generally applied. That is good. It's just interesting to hear that as our first interaction with Dave's father, when the last thing we learned about him is that he was a cop and he died in the line of duty. It sets up, or potentially died in the line of duty. It sets up a very bizarre and kind of grim perspective on this character and the world that he inhabits, basically. It's just like, yeah, just try your best, and well, everyone dies, Dave, so sometimes you gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
You're a cop.
It feels like it's supposed to be an uplifting flashback, but it feels more like a BoJack flashback.
Yes.
It feels like, hey, it's those moments where you see BoJack Horseman's family. These are always great episodes. Oh no.
Yeah.
Like, I half expect him to be like, everybody dies, Dave, and then the black liquid starts leaking out, and you're like,
yeah, exactly.
fuck. But Dad.
No buts, sport. Just do your best.
He got up from his chair and wandered over to the kitchen, stopping in front of the coffee pot to pour himself another mug. The black liquid was the coffee.
Now anything else I can help you with? But maybe make it less heavy if you can. At least until after you've eaten something.
Can I have a hug?
Is that all? Of course, son. Just a sec.
I watched, shaking as he got closer. I closed my eyes, scared of if I was going to feel anything when he reached me. Part of me wanted that familiar touch, but an equal part was worried as to what it'd mean if I felt it at all. His steps got closer, the sound of his footfalls on tile getting louder and louder. Then they stopped. Everything stopped. And when I opened my eyes, I was right where I fell asleep. The room around me shifting in time with Sal's breathing. The slow rise and fall of his breath with me on top made it seem as though I was rocking gently on the ocean. I dared not move straight away. Despite the size difference, Sal had a hand on my butt, and I was lazily draped over him to keep me from falling off entirely. Even when asleep, he was trying to follow through with his want to protect. Even if that was just to stop me from falling the last inch between me and the mattress. When I shifted to get off him, he grunted, let his arm fall away so I could move. It didn't seem like he was awake, so I took the chance to get out of bed. I got dressed and made my way downstairs. It was early. Earlier than what anyone really should be awake, but I couldn't sleep. Maybe it was before dawn. I didn't really have the thought to check the specifics. I don't think you need to check. There's so many windows, you'll know if it's dawn or not yet. Hell, we're abundantly aware of the windows in this bedroom every day. I can't see anything else but the state of the outside. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I yawned, stretching again as I contemplated making coffee and sitting in the dining room. With Benson now gone, it wasn't an option to expect him to make me one if I asked. Has he ever done that before? Ever? There wasn't any guarantee that he would have been awake at this time anyway. Thinking it over, the thought of coffee made my stomach churn. It wasn't Dad's coffee, and for whatever reason my mind had decided to play that trick on me. Having anything but his blend wouldn't be as fulfilling.
Dave?
I looked up, seeing Haas frozen in place, staring at me as if caught off guard. My eyes darted down to the small black device in his hand, and the wires sticking out of it before he shoved it back in his pocket. What are you up to, buddy?
You're up early.
Yeah, what? Why are you up too? What was that? What was that anyway? I gestured to his now bulging pocket with one hand while rubbing my eyes with the other.
Oh, nothing important. Just had something to...
Haas scratches his chin while he looked me over, looking troubled.
Just something I had to take care of.
Just bugging the whole house, Dave. The look I was giving him must have clued him into the fact I wasn't following, or at the very least wanted more information.
Just something Benson asked me about.
But he isn't even here anymore.
He asked me a couple days ago to do a thing, and I'd forgotten.
Everyone in this group is so reliable.
So forgetful.
I forgot because I was too busy doing nothing. Because we don't do anything most of the time. Must have been pretty important for you to lose sleep over it, right?
Important enough, at least. Better question, why are you awake?
I couldn't sleep.
Okay, and the real reason? You seem like you just woke up and didn't want to stay in bed. Which, all things considered, I would have assumed you would have wanted to stay in bed.
Huh?
What, didn't think I'd notice you bunking up with someone?
I felt my face go red. But, wait, how did you know about Sal?
I have my ways. Poor guy lumbers around and isn't as stealthy as he thinks he's being. You gonna be alright?
I don't know. Maybe I'll go get some fresh air or something. I should be fine. I don't believe in the buddy system anymore.
You sure? I really don't.
The next moment, Haas yawned, covering his mouth and stretching his back. You sound like you need sleep. Don't worry, I'll be fine.
Well, if you're sure.
I'm sure. Promise.
If you're certain, I'll see you in a few hours after I've had myself a little cat nap. Night.
He was bounding up the stairs before I could get another word in. Why would you get another word in? My eyes were trained on the pocket he'd concealed something in. I wondered what it could have been. What he'd been up to. Spy on him. Oh, hello.
Huh. Is this a unfinished CG or is it just stylized?
I don't know. It's got this like storyboard vibe to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. It'd be kind of fun. Honestly, like it'd be. I wouldn't be against seeing like more placeholder CGs in visual novels, just to like take up space and add more variety, even if they're like still being worked on. Just because they're pretty rare. just across the genre, really. I get to see what Dave looks like for a second. Maybe he just feels incomplete. It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor. He's brought us a metaphor.
I brought you a metaphor. The morning was crisp and fresh as I stood looking out at the horizon. Perhaps it was the mountain air that made everything seem so alive. I smirked at the irony. Alive? Why was it that it was only recently that the whole concept of mortality was being brought up again? Someone's messing with me, right? Sighing out, I ran my hands through my fur, thinking back to my dream. At least I was pretty sure it was just a dream. Losing Dad was hard enough, and something that I focused on a daily basis, something that just made it easier to cope. I missed him every day. That's something that I forced down on a daily basis. I was like, I confused myself for a second there. But now was some cruel reality that had me facing my friends dying too. Not that I didn't have options. I could run away like a coward and let this be someone else's problem. As Dad said, everyone dies eventually, right? But could I live with myself knowing that I had a chance to do something and didn't? It was much the same as staying here and risking nothing bad happening. If talking to Oswald had meant anything, and seeing things in the vault, the threat seemed real enough. If talking to Oswald meant anything, and seeing things in the vault, the threat seemed real enough. I guess the vault does that. I don't know how talking to Oswald did anything, because he told us nothing, right?
Yeah, he didn't.
He's
really
like,
give us
I'm a
information.
psycho. I killed tons of babies, and also I have every disease known to man. You should run from me. I'm terrifying. I'm fucked up and weird. Anyway, I hope this was illuminating. Go home now. Like I don't think Oswald gave us much more information about the actual threat or why we're here or what our goal is. He told us a lot of things not to do, which is the opposite of giving us actionable advice.
I mean, I think we were supposed to, I think the way it's set up, obviously, we're supposed to ask him questions, but it was so early that we had nothing to ask him, and the stuff we tried to ask him didn't really work out. So it just was like...
Yeah, we gave it a go. From what I hear, the plan is to rewrite that entire scene and remove the asking questions bit entirely. And just
that would be wonderful.
And just have it be a linear scene. Which maybe will better convey whatever they were going for, because, yeah, I'm still not clear whether or not there was valid questions to ask him that could have worked to begin with. But we were already getting into trouble a bit by triggering conversations about things we didn't know about. And the way they're, like with the gun, the second gun that's buried and there's like a rifle or something. And like that conversation came up in a way that implied that Dave knew what he was talking about, because he didn't treat it like as a surprise or a reveal. So that implies that when we ask the question, we should know why we're asking the question, which means we accidentally stumbled on stuff we weren't supposed to be asking him about yet, because we don't know about the gun that conversation was about to begin with. So it's just kind of messy. I was thinking about that because like I don't think there's a way to improve that kind of interaction. I think that like trying to have just ask me questions stuff is like super ambitious in a way that like never really pays off. Like I played the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker, a game that's entirely about asking questions directly to the characters in the game and just having to navigate the whole game that way. Like it's entirely you just typing things in and hoping that you can like glom onto like the logic of how to phrase things and how to play the game and how to make any of it go anywhere. And even when the entire game is built around that system and they put a lot of work into making it robust, it still could be like deeply frustrating and just a mess. So I don't really see a fix besides just like making that scene a normal scene.
Yeah, I think part of it is like they should make it a normal scene, and if they really want to keep in the question asking, they can make it be like what they should do is communicate more information up front. Really important stuff, maybe prepare the player for what kinds of questions or what kinds of things they should be looking to ask, and then at the end have a moment where he says, all right, Dave, now's the time. If you have any questions, I'm an open book, and then have the question prompt and make it so that at least you have something to go on, and it is introduced that he knows things and can give you info, and we have an idea of what kind of info he can give us before we then get a chance to ask questions. That's just my thought, though.
It feels like an attempted escalation from the password system, but the password system is at least, here's one word. Figure out what the one word is and use it in the one spot that's usable. Whereas, like, that moment is so open, and also the person playing is probably genre savvy enough that you just kind of wonder, like, am I supposed to have a single applicable question to ask here? Is there a specific thing the developer expects me to ask? Or am I literally supposed to just make a save and come back 10 hours from now with, like, stuff that has come up later because this never happens again or something? Like, it's actually really unclear what the intent is, because it's such a format break from the rest of the game. So it's just an odd moment. But yeah, it comes up here because whenever Dave talks about the implied stakes of the game, I'm still often wondering what the stakes of the game are myself, and more importantly, what Dave knows, because Dave in every ending resets and remembers almost nothing. So I'm like, what does Dave know? What does he mean when he talks about the stakes? And what does he think is going to happen? And what is his incentive to stay and everything? Which only left one real option, and that was to face this head on. Like father, like son, huh? I smirked for all of a second.
Is that what the lesson from his weird dream vision with his dad was? Was that the moral there?
I guess because he said you have to just try your best and people might die. And all you can do is just try, I guess. It's,
Indeed.
I smirked for all of a second, thinking about how I was unintentionally following my dad's footsteps in some way. Maybe I'd make an alright detective if I could get my nerves under control. Alright, that's the thought I was trying to get at. It was the, it feels, and I could be wrong, maybe someone can go back and cite the exact line of dialogues that were supposed to reinforce a lot of this stuff, but I feel like there's just, like, in the creation of the story, a lot of, like, assumptions were left unstated. It's like there's just like the writer knows where this is all going and knows that this is whatever kind of like death game or Final Destination or whatever they were going for specifically. It's like they know that what's happening in the story, but they didn't necessarily directly and concretely communicate that in a clear and unavoidable way to the characters. Yeah. Akin to like how, like to take 999 for an example. At the beginning of the game, you wake up in an escape room, it's flooding, you have to break out, you meet up with a bunch of characters, and you are explained the game. Here is the time limit, here's the stakes, these things have bombs, you can die, and then just to show that, one character does try to break the rules a bit and go off on their own and rebel against the group, and then they do in fact die, and that's like, oh, there's the example. Even in like a really clumsy way, the Suicide Squad movie tries that, but like when like they in the way that they give every single character an extended intro, and then Slipknot is also there, and then he immediately dies to the bomb collar that they introduce, and then the bomb collars turn out to be narratively mostly irrelevant to that movie because they never come up again. But it's like, okay, well, we're all forced to do this because this is happening. Here's the stakes. This game. This narrative is inherently about people that where the entire cast doesn't know anything is happening, so only Dave vaguely knows. But every time something goes wrong, he gets a vision from the vault, undoes what went wrong, but also his only evidence that anything went wrong is just a vague dream that he doesn't entirely know what to believe in or how like legit it is, and then he continues forward. And so lacking any kind of big like here's the villain or your captor or some other thing just monologuing at you like Monokuma or Lagomorph explaining to you what's happening in Zero Escape and Danganronpa. Like, there's no like, here's the character that tells you what the stakes are, here are the rules, here's what's happening, here's what you're here to do, here's the consequences if you don't do it. Like, just a simple, straightforward breakdown that tells the player and the characters what's happening at the same time, so that they can then we understand what the stakes are and what the goal is, but also we understand what our characters know, and then we can then interpret from there what their logic is and why they're doing what they're doing and what their goal is.
Yeah, exactly.
I find it extremely hard to say in any concrete terms most of this game what Dave knows. And even we don't actually know on a macro scale what's happening here. And I don't mean like the end of game reveals that says, here's what this whole thing was actually about all along, but like on the face of it, you and I don't really know what the point of the mansion is or why we're on a vacation in a place where people keep dying and then being saved by a vault. But even that level of knowledge is more than Dave seems to know most of the time. So it's very hard to parse the motivations of the characters.
Yeah,
because I can't tell you for certain what the stakes are that he thinks exist. I watched as Sal exited the house and came to stand by me. He didn't say anything at first, scratching the back of his head awkwardly. When I didn't say anything else, he took initiative.
Good morning. Did you sleep all right?
He's cute here. I kind of wonder if there's a variation of this scene for every single character, so it took a lot of work that they didn't finish, or if this is supposed to look like this. Yeah, it was nice. The faintest tinge of red crosses Sal's scales as he processed what I'd said.
Why are you up early?
Oh, just a lot on my mind. What about you?
I woke up and you weren't there. I was worried.
Sorry, I didn't want to wake you. And I introduced this whole buddy system that we should all follow, but also I keep leaving on my own, and then people say they're worried afterwards, and then I do it again. I just keep doing that.
It was fine. I was just, concerned.
I'm fine. Promise. I just needed some time to think about a decision.
Is it a hard decision?
Not really. I'm fairly certain I know what I want to do, but it's not going to be easy. Isn't this the same dilemma he had yesterday morning? I think we did the same loop twice, where he had a dream about his father, or a thought about his father, woke up in the morning, and then walked off into the woods to be pensive about the Oz conversation, basically, and the stakes. And then the next night he had another dream about his father, and then went off to the woods again to once again think about the mission Oz has kind of set him on without telling him what the mission is. Again.
Yeah. It is interesting that the game sometimes does this weird looping of like giving us a scene where a character kind of comes to a conclusion, then immediately forgets the conclusion, and we replay the scene almost verbatim. Kind of odd.
Can I help?
Like, on some level, he had a more potent interaction with his father, and now he has more certainty, so there's kind of an arc to it, but it also is very noticeable how, like, structurally, the day is just kind of repeating itself.
Yeah.
Not really, I just had, I wasn't sure if I should be bringing this up with Sal, knowing how tender it was for myself, let alone how well he'd take it. Let's just say I had a dream that gave me some strength.
I think I understand.
As the sun started to rise over the trees, Sal put an arm briefly over my shoulder, as if watching it rise. He was quite upset, but in a way that just made things easier. I felt as though Sal understood.
If I can help, you only need to say the word, okay?
Really? Wow, doubting him. He mumbled an affirmation before stepping away.
You've got a kind heart, Dave. It's worth protecting.
The rest of you, Well, I hope I could repay the favor someday, Sal.
Hopefully.
What are you gonna do now that you're up? Is it time for morning swim?
No, not this morning, I think. I might go have a longer sleep.
That's unlike you. I thought you were all for getting an early start. Sal chuckled, shaking his head and shooting me a smile.
Resting is important too. Don't forget to rest if you need it.
At the rate I'm going, I think I might just wait until it's time for coffee. With a nod, Sal wandered back inside, shakily at first before finding his balance. I wondered who was really protecting who. Sal was big and straddled that fine line between protector and someone that needed protecting. Maybe that's why we have some sort of understanding? Watching the sun rise higher in the morning sky for a little longer, I let my mind wander. A couple minutes later, I figured there was no better time for coffee if I was going to stay up rather than follow Sal's lead in getting some additional sleep. For me, it's interesting that he feels steeled and like strong now, like he got strength from the dream. So I still just I guess my issue is that Dave has no goal. He has no actionable. He has no course of action to pursue. There's nothing he's looking to do today. Even the goofy puzzle element of being oh, gotta find the library, as goofy as that was he was working towards something for a couple of days and being kind of screwed around with by the dumb, not that library, silly. But, yeah, oddly we have a protagonist with no mission or thing he's planning on doing for the next 20 days. He's just waiting for the story to happen to him, which is...
Yes.
A strange
He's a very passive lead character, especially in a visual novel that's propelled by your own choices. It's like he's oddly passive.
Yeah, and it's not super uncommon to have a passive visual novel in a passive character in a visual novel, but they're usually in the middle of something at least. Like there are stakes, they're moving, and they're just trying to figure out how to interact with the situation and what to do. Or they're trying to get out of a situation that they're that's actually concrete and something they can interact with. Dave really is just waiting for the next friend to die, I guess. In his mission to help to not have his friends die. His goal is to wait around until one of them dies and then try to undo it afterwards via a system he doesn't understand. He's not investigating the house or trying to weed out who could be killing people. He doesn't even confront Haas over his weird device he just had. He's like, what was that? Oh, this is the thing. Bye. Cool, Dave. You're on a good mission to save people. You literally see someone doing something suspicious and you're like, it's probably nothing. They told me the jet would give me the jitters. All right, cool, Dave. Jesus Christ. I thought this was the whole point of the last scene, was that you're on a mission to be your cop dad and deal with the stuff, and you just let him walk away with a weird suspicious thing. All right, buddy.